You everyone for joining us today. This is a special program we're doing for our law student members and our law student population who are interested in learning more about construction law and the practice of construction law. This is the second time we've done the event and really want to emphasize that this is put on by the ABA Forum on Construction Law, Division 1 and the membership committee. And we are energized about getting young lawyers involved in the ABA Forum on Construction Law. And we are super excited to have even soon-to-be lawyers get involved in the forum. And nothing is truer than what Lexi Pereira has done. She's a law student. Lexi, you're at BC, getting your MBA, your JD. You're going to graduate this year, right? And Lexi is the law student representative for the forum and has done a ton of things over the past couple years in her involvement with the forum. And I think she'll share some of those things with you all today. We have an excellent panel of construction lawyers. I know each of them very well, of diverse backgrounds and expertise and tenure. I hope you enjoyed today's program. We're going to have a panel discussion, a Q&A for 60 minutes. And then we're going to have the last 30 minutes be an introduction of the forum's 14 divisions, have a representative from as many of them as we're going to get on this call to talk about their division in 2 minutes or less, so that you can get a sense of, if you want to get involved, how best to do it. Lexi, could you introduce our panelists? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd be honored to introduce our excellent panelists. First, we have Leslie O'Neill. She is the Associate General Counsel at Brassfield and Gorrie, which is an ENR, Engineer News Record, top 25 general contractor. Prior to joining Brassfield and Gorrie, she practiced construction law at Greenberg Tarek, as well as Holland and Knight, where she was the National Construction Practice Leader for 12 years. Leslie also is a fellow in the American College of Construction Lawyers and is a former chair of the ABA Forum on Construction Law. Welcome, Leslie. We also have Richard Whitbrot here. He is a senior partner at Gibbs Guyton, which is based in Los Angeles, and he's been with the firm for all 34 years of his practice of law. His focus is solely based in representing owners, designers, general contractors, and subcontractors on all types of construction projects. And he advises clients by seeking to avoid disputes, but if a dispute arises, how to effectively handle this dispute to meet the client's objectives. Welcome, Richard. We also have with us Jeff Cruz, who is Corporate Counsel and Ethics and Compliance Officer at Skanska USA Building Inc. I don't have their ENR ranking, but they're certainly up there. Prior to joining Skanska, he was in private practice, working at firms by the names Postner and Rubin, as well as Thielen, Reed and Priest. He also served some other in-house counsel posts at Bear Stearns and E.E. Cruz Company. He's an active member of the American Bar Association, Forum on Construction Law, MOLS, as well as a fellow in the American College of Construction Lawyers. Welcome, Jeff. Lastly, we have Carmela Mastriani. She is an associate with Hamilton, Stevens, Steele, and Martin, which is a law firm located in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her practice focuses on, you guessed it, construction, commercial construction, and litigation throughout North and South Carolina. Welcome, Carmela. So we're going to get started here, and I'm going to ask each of the panelists to give a little bit more background on themselves, certainly say your name, but also give us a brief description of what your practice is, and more particularly, how did you become a construction lawyer? Leslie, can you kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Lexi. So I tell people that I am an accidental construction lawyer because I was a sociology major in college and didn't know anything about construction. But at my first law firm, I went to work with a guy, my boss, who was doing surety work and construction law. And so that was my introduction to the field. And I found it to be fascinating. And so I've been a construction lawyer my whole career. Most recently, of course, I'm in-house with Brassfield and Gorey. When I was in private practice, I was mainly a litigator, a dispute resolver, I guess is what we call ourselves now. But now in in-house, you're a jack of all trades. You cover the waterfront of everything from payment and performance bonds, insurance, personal injury, property damage, you name it, it'll come across your desk. So it's a fun job in that it's never boring. I highly recommend membership in the forum. It was the single best thing I ever did as a professional to join the forum.
Thank you. Richard, could you kick us off next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Before law school, I had the opportunity I was a CPA, and I was CFO of a real estate developer based here in Los Angeles. And so I got a bird's eye view for every construction project that they built and they developed. They had one problem project in San Francisco, and I know we probably have folks here from San Francisco, is on Market Street. And I got firsthand of the dispute resolution process and the litigation process. It bogged down, was over budget, liens and lawsuits. And I was interacting with all these lawyers, and I go, that's what I want to do. I love real estate. I didn't really know about construction until then. I loved real estate, and I go, that's what I want to do. I came to this firm, interviewed, and as Lexi says, I've been here my entire legal career. And thank you for coming, and we'll talk more about it.
Thank you. Jeff?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Cruz. I'm corporate counsel with Skanska USA Building, a large construction management and general contracting firm with our parent company is in Sweden. I'm responsible for all the legal matters within my region, which includes New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Geographically, it's a pretty small area, but it's extremely active, a lot of commercial activity within our company here. And I also became a construction lawyer somewhat by accident. My dad's a contractor, my sister's an architect, and my dad wanted me to do something other than construction when I grew up. So, he kind of pushed me towards law school, and the pushing worked. I loved law school. It worked out fine. And, after my first year, I was really wondering whether I wanted to do this. I'd been an English major, and, this is quite a different classroom experience for me. So, and there weren't a lot of first year associate jobs in New York City at the time. So, and there probably still aren't. Mostly they're available to second years. And so a friend of mine was in the career office, and she saw that a construction law firm was looking for a first year or second year summer associate. So I went, I interviewed, I got the job. I stayed for 15 years. And, that first year, I met my mentors. I met friends for life. I still talk to all the time. I met my future wife, and turned out to be a pretty good move for me. And I love the work. I had a mentor. His name's Bob Rubin. He's still practicing, and he brought me out to construction sites and introduced me to clients and dragged me into meetings, and brought me into something new at the time called mediation. I went to hearings and trials, and I just had an amazing time. So I got hooked, and I never left.
Great. Carmela?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carmela Mastriani. As Lexi said, I'm an associate with a mid-sized law firm in Charlotte. We have about 27 attorneys. I love this term that we've been using, the accidental construction lawyer. I actually became a construction lawyer through a Facebook message. As kind of sketchy as that sounds, in what I refer to as my prior life, which is not that long ago, I was a family law attorney, and we have a very, very small family law practice at my current firm. And one of the family law attorneys who I had gotten to know through family law litigation sent me a Facebook message saying, hey, our construction team needs someone. You don't want to do family law for the rest of your life. He was right, by the way. That was awful. Come over here, come grab a cup of coffee, let's talk. And met the partner who I work for currently, who's actively involved in the forum as well, and kind of fell in love with her, fell in love with the practice, and here I am. So that, you know, the idea of it's not what you know, it's who you know, I am very much a testament of that through a Facebook message. So.
Great. Thank you, everyone. You know, Leslie and Jeff, you both work in-house now, and you had experience working as outside construction counsel as well. What is unique or different about working for, you know, one client for a construction company versus having numerous construction companies as outside litigation counsel? And what are the challenges? Jeff, you want to start?
Sure. You know, I think it's accurate to say that you have one client, but you know, once you come in the door, you realize there are a lot of clients. There are different constituencies and sometimes even different interests between one end of the building and the other. So there is quite a variety of clients that you have to service. You know, I guess I'll echo what Leslie said earlier. The challenges and what I enjoy are pretty much the same thing, and that is that it's different every day, right? I heard someone say that they had been asked to, you know, what's the definition of construction law? And the definition is it's the practice of law, but just in a single industry, you know, and you get, I think, an even broader view of that once you go in-house, right? So when I was on the outside, I mostly did construction litigation, and I'd review the occasional owner contract and subcontract, but, you know, I was a litigator. Now, I have to manage outside lawyers who handle our litigation, but and I do review contracts and subcontracts, but I get involved in legal issues from human resources, you know, from insurance and risk management, safety, immigration. I wrote this list out so that, you know, I could go on, you know, real estate, and I'm also the compliance officer, so I handle ethics and code of conduct violations, antitrust, cyber law. I mean, Leslie, basically anything can walk through our door at any given time.
So Jeff, you know, you mentioned contracts, and obviously all of our law school friends, our law student friends know, you know, contracts from first year. But can you describe some of the unique aspects of construction contracts in the you know, the private construction industry, specifically the standard form contracts that exist, and give a survey overview of those documents?
So, you know, I work in-house at a construction company, and, you know, the people who design and build construction projects live with the design and construction process every day. But often the owners of construction projects do not, right? I mean, our public owners, you know, they know construction because they have people dedicated to that. But the rest of our clients, you know, they build healthcare facilities, or they run healthcare facilities, or they provide education, or they run a museum or a casino, or they make shoes or frozen pizza or bass guitars, you know, whatever they do, but they're not in construction. So the industry has developed quite a few, you know, what we'll just call industry standard forms. You know, some of them are the most widely used and familiar ones are published by the American Institute of Architects, but there are other standard forms published by you know, other groups. You know, there's a family of documents called consensus docs, the EJCDC docs from the engineers, the FIDIC docs that we use on international projects, design build agreements from the Design Build Institute of America. And, you know, these help to form kind of the foundation of the construction agreements that we'll use on our construction projects.
Yeah, what's I was just going to say, what's interesting about it is it's not just, you know, owner contractor. They have forms of subcontract, they have master terms agreements. So it's really like a whole suite of potential off-the-shelf contracts that you can work with and customize, which is pretty neat that the industry has developed that. You know, I think the AIA has been in business for like 150 years or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just the different sectors of the business, right? Owners and subcontractors and surety bonds. It's all different project delivery systems, right? There are really all kinds of different standard forms that are adapted to how we do business. But it's like going to the store to buy a suit, right? One size rarely fits all, and these get pretty heavily modified. Well, they typically get modified. I don't know if I've ever seen one of these go through unmodified, and that's because the business of allocation of risk is quite different from project to project, depending on who the parties are and what the project is about. So there's quite a bit of work, even though there are standard forms, there's quite a bit of work that goes into negotiating modifications and drafting bolt-ons for these contracts.
Thanks, Jeff. And Leslie, from your perspective as in-house counsel, you referred to yourself, your prior life as not a construction litigator, but as a dispute resolver. And I thought that was interesting. What do you look for in the resolution or avoidance of disputes, and working with outside counsel in doing the same? What innovative things does the construction industry have that maybe some other industries don't have along those lines?
Yes, well, of course, one of the things about construction is that there are many opportunities for disputes, and unfortunately, some of those disputes, become quite heated and become expensive to litigate or to go to trial. And when I was in private practice, I was a trial attorney. I like to try cases. I did try cases. As an in-house attorney, my goal is for us not to go to trial. And part of it is really the culture of the company. Our company culture is, we value relationships very highly. Our relationships with our owners, our relationships with our designers, our relationships with subcontractors. And when you value relationships, then you try to find creative ways to resolve disputes so that you can maintain the relationship without just giving up, of course. We're in business to make money. We can't just fold every time a claim arises. But the construction industry as a whole has embraced what's called alternative dispute resolution for many, many years. You mentioned the AIA documents, and for majority of the time the AIA documents have been around, they had arbitration as their default dispute resolution method. Now they have the option of litigation as well. So many construction cases went to arbitration. Now mediation, as Jeff mentioned, something that became popular really like in the 80s, but is now, I would say, something that's very common in construction situations, that you go to at least one, if not more, mediations to try to resolve the case without having to go to trial. In addition, in some large infrastructure cases or projects rather, including specifically tunneling projects, the use of what's called a dispute review board, which is a panel of neutrals. Usually one or more of them is an engineer or a designer, and then one or more of them is a construction attorney. And these people are selected at the beginning of the project, and they meet periodically with the project team to keep up with the progress of the project and learn about what's going on. And if a dispute arises, the contracts require that dispute to go to the dispute review board first, and they give, in many instances, it's a recommended verdict, so to speak. But in many cases, if not all, it's the parties usually accept what the dispute review board awards or doesn't award. And it's very rare that they take the case further on. So that's one aspect. Another one is a similar thing called a project neutral, where one person, rather than a board, is selected at the beginning to be the project neutral and oversee disputes. Because the truth is that, and one of the things we do in-house, at least I do in-house, is I do a good bit of training to our project managers and superintendents and division managers and so forth. And I told them that disputes are not like fine wine or cheese. They do not improve with age. So the best thing to do is nip them in the bud if you can't avoid them altogether. And again, I go back to, it's part of the culture. It's learning the signs of a dispute and learning how to, reach out and try to communicate with the other side and find a resolution that is agreeable. Like most settlements, everybody's a little bit unhappy, but it's better than the alternative.
Fascinating. Thank you. Unlike Leslie and Jeff, Carmela and Rich work in a law firm. Carmela, could you tell us what your day-to-day is like as a construction law associate?
Yeah, sure. So my primary practice is defense-based. So defending contractors, subcontractors, architects, and engineers when owners sue us, or if it's a sub, when a GC sues us. So being litigation-based, the vast majority of my day-to-day revolves around that. So whether it's attending a hearing or drafting discovery responses, doing document review, drafting motions and pleadings, it boils down to a lot of reading and writing, and a lot of conference calls. But it changes day to day, and it never really gets old, if that makes sense. Because you're always doing something different, and you're always, working on a different project where something, new has gone awry that you're trying to figure out how to deal with.
So we've had a couple questions come in about the chat about this, and so I know everybody's interested. Could you speak on what are some things that law students might learn in law school which come into play in construction law? For example,
Sure.
Maybe some courses you might recommend law students take or things like that?
Yeah, so everyone has to take, or at least in North Carolina where I went to law school, had to take torts and contracts. I would definitely recommend those if your law school offers like a contracts 2 or a torts 2, a more advanced iteration of those classes. I would take it. Another class or opportunity that I wish I had fully explored while I was in law school was doing mock trial. I did do trial ad, but I went the journal route instead of the mock trial route. And if you want to get into litigation, I would certainly recommend that you get as much practice as you can under your belt. Construction is a good, they're good waters to be in as far as getting experience, because there's all kinds of dispute sizes, but so often things settle before trial that, I don't know that you get as much, feet to the fire experience, until it's time to argue something very big. I argued my first summary judgment motion about a month ago, and I've been doing this for several years now, and it was a pretty big one. And I really wish that I'd, had that opportunity to argue a much smaller one first, just to, get the dust off. But yeah, and then I saw, Lexi, a question that I think ties into this in the queue, which was about if you can't get into a firm that does construction, what other kinds of law? And I do think that this ties together. I would recommend doing anything in the civil world, because ultimately, if you know how to understand the rules of civil procedure, and the track that a case is supposed to take, and this kind of ties back to the trial ad stuff too, but if you know that a track that a civil case is supposed to take, whether that's in my world, that was family law, right? Like I knew how that was supposed to go. I knew how the discovery process worked. I knew how depositions worked. I knew how dispositive motions worked. Then, you can transfer that skill set to construction, because at that point, you're just changing subject matter. I went from talking about children to talking about dirt, and you just kind of can plug and play a little bit more so than maybe doing, criminal law or something like that.
Yeah.
So Lexi, I had a comment on that as well, if you have a minute. I agree with what Carmela said, that if you can't get with a firm that does construction, specifically, that a civil law background is very helpful. And I will say that from my own experience, I did a lot of insurance defense cases, as well as construction cases when I started out. And one of the benefits of that was that I got stuck doing all of the subrogation cases that we took in as loss leaders. So I got to try little county court cases all over the place and get a lot of experience being in front of the judge and trying to get something in evidence and so forth. Also, a lot of insurance defense cases relate to construction. There's construction accidents, there's construction defects, which is a huge area. So, you can kind of get your foot in the door that way. And I mean, I made the transition from being an insurance defense lawyer to being a construction lawyer. And I think that can be done if you can't get into a construction group at a large firm or a construction boutique firm.
And as I understand it, those insurance defense firms, like you're saying, are a great opportunity for junior associates to jump in and get real substantive experience a little earlier on than
Yes.
you are sometimes allowed access to at larger firms. My other pitch for law students who are interested in getting some more info while you're in law school, I found my insurance law class to be particularly helpful. And I'm also working in-house at a construction company right now as well, which gets you some of that hands-on experience early on. Another great way you can start learning about construction is getting more involved in the forum. So Carmela, could you tell us a bit about how you got involved and what are some things that law students can start taking advantage of?
Sure. The partner, as I said earlier, the partner I work for now, who I came over to work for, is highly involved in the forum. And that was one of her selling points for me, was because I love to travel, and the forum has several meetings a year at all of these great locations. We are going to San Diego in a couple of weeks. And so, one of the benefits of law students getting involved in the forum is that, you do get reduced rates at some of the national meetings, and they have a law student writing competition. And so when we were in Seattle back in October, they actually, brought the law student writing competition winner up on a stage full of, I think there were probably 200 of us in that banquet hall watching this kid, law student, get an award. And so, you are being nationally recognized in front of a group of, people who do this all the time. It's a great way to get your name out there and, to put something on your resume that, not a lot of your colleagues will have. If you write and you can get published, the forum has several different publications. I'm involved in one called Under Construction, and Lexi's been published in Under Construction with us. We have a great Construction 101 section that, we accept articles from all the time. So if anyone's interested, also, you can email me on that.
So the law student writing competition, you also get a cash prize, which is pretty cool. And Richard Riprod is the forum's finance director, and so he's in control of all of the forum's finances. Richard, you've been at your law firm for 33 years. You told us in a prep session. You said you probably met with and interviewed and worked with thousands of law students during that tenure. What's some advice and some guidance that you can give law students thinking about a career construction law?
Sure, thanks, Tom. A couple of things that are unique that I think I'd like you guys to think about. Every construction project is unique. And by that, I mean, if you think about it, in the cities that you live in or the cities that you travel in, you see tower cranes. And I love to see tower cranes. And for me, tower cranes mean progress, and it means growth. And if you think about it, most tower cranes, not all, but most, are commercial projects, whether they're towers, obviously tower cranes, but they could be road and infrastructure using tower cranes. So that tells me every project is unique. Every project has an owner, right? So you have an owner, and you may have an owner, you may have a public entity owner and a private entity owner. And those areas of the law are completely different. Then you go down to the general contractor, multiple subcontractors, as Leslie talked about before. Every single project usually has one general, multiple subcontractors, and multiple vendors. And from a law standpoint, from a law student standpoint, that area of this area of the law gives you an opportunity to learn in how to protect and give advice to a multitude of project participants. Lots of areas of the law doesn't allow that. On one case, you may represent a general contractor, and so you'll have a perspective of a general contractor. And then on another case, you represent an owner, and then so now you have to give the learn perspectives and give advice on behalf of an owner. But now you know how a general contractor thinks. Again, just a great idea. Secondly, the areas of law, and a few of our panelists have talked about this, the areas of law are multiple areas. Number one is basic contracts. But our contracts are unique. They have unique provisions. They have unique damages. So you have to learn that area of the law. It's a different nomenclature, which again is terrific. Different insurance. Insurance is very specific to our industry. You may have employment issues. You may have labor, which are union issues on projects in a dispute, which again, don't have it in other areas of the law. And then again, I think Carmela mentioned this, you have a torts area. And then finally, the construction industry there's been an explosion of technology. And if you like technology, and most of you folks are young, there is an explosion of technology that is being used to increase productivity. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. There's something called BIM, and it's called Building Information Modeling. And you can see a 3D, 4D rendition of a building going up with the plans and the construction issues that are supposed to be brought together before you begin construction. It's a huge advantage. And of course, the use of drones and the use of communications and the use of document sharing, retrieval, the days of paper are long gone. So when all those areas of construction, I think it's fantastic. I mean, that's what's happening. Again, huge technology gains, and not that you have to build those, but you have to know how they're used in any dispute. And again, the advice to all the client participants, project participants that I mentioned.
Okay, Richard, we're going to do some short answer questions here that came in through the chat room. What kind of overlap does construction law have with real estate? I'm thinking maybe financing aspects or mechanics liens, or what's your thoughts on that question?
So great question. Real estate, well, number one, you got the purchase aspect, right? So in representing an owner, so what I view real estate purchase and a development, it's a mini business. So when an owner, let's stay with the private side, when an owner buys a piece of real estate, they usually want to develop it and they want to grow. So what they do is they buy it, they have equity, they borrow money, and then they have expenses called construction, architect and construction expenses. So in that sense, it is a mini business. They want to buy an asset, they want to have their equity, they want to borrow money, they want to pay to have it built, and then they want it to make money. That is a mini business. So for you entrepreneurs out there, that's how the real estate and construction kind of overlap, which I think is very, very important.
Okay. Is it likely that you're going to become successful as a construction attorney?
Possibly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I think all of us
Leslie,
did.
go for it. Go for it.
All of us did.
Okay. And is there a certain path?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you define success, but I mean, certainly know a lot of people who've had very successful careers, both financially and professionally as construction lawyers.
Okay. Carmela, how many hours do you have to work as a construction attorney?
Oh gosh, do you want the real answer to that question? I think the hours question is not so much a construction law question as much as it is a type of law firm you are at question. The hours requirements will very much vary whether you go big law or you go medium, you go teeny tiny office. I will say my hours requirement is 1,800 and I'm at a 27 attorney firm. I think that's kind of standard across law firms my size. But I will tell you that to bill an hour takes a lot longer than an actual hour sometimes. So I think,
So
desk time is
one
a lot
advantage of being in-house is that you don't have billable
Yeah.
hours, but that doesn't mean you still don't have to work a lot.
You don't have to track every 10th of the hour on a timesheet.
Yeah, that's one
I
of the
do
things.
have a comment on how to become a successful construction attorney. Was that the question, I think?
Well, yeah,
That
it's
was
like
one of
how to become a, can you become a successful construction attorney, and how to do it, Richard, it was the question.
Well, let me just give you just a quick response is to be a successful construction lawyer, you have to learn a whole new nomenclature. You have to know what an RFI is. You have to know what sheetrock is. You have to know what cast in place and precast concrete are. You have to know all those things. You have to learn all those things, and you have to want to do that. You don't have to know how to build anything, but you have to know what that nomenclature is. And again, there's many of that. And number two, and I think I just alluded to this, and I think Leslie did too, about, or excuse me, Jeff did too, about the form of contracts that are, again, are very unique. The remedies are unique, the provisions are unique. So you want to have to learn that to become successful. And then finally, when your mom and dad or your siblings call up and they have a problem on their remodeling project, you know how to answer and help them and give them a little payback eventually. So that's also very helpful and be successful.
Okay, last lightning round question. I'll ask to Jeff Cruz. There's a question about different states having favorable, unfavorable statutes and case law. I'm thinking of the differences of states when it comes to mechanics lien statutes, differences of licensure requirements. For example, California, if you're not licensed, there's a forfeiture provision, whereas other states not. How do the states play up? And as an in-house attorney, how do you, for a larger construction company, how do you balance all the different states' laws and keep it together so your company's protected?
Yeah, fortunately for me, I'm not responsible for the entire country, but my boss, who relies quite heavily on local experts, right? There's no way that any of us can keep track of that. And it's not just the laws, the specific construction jurisprudence that might kind of come out of any particular state. It's the laws and regulations, as you said, and then it's everything else that affects the practice, or I guess the business of a construction company. Laws about labor, laws about technology and insurance. We really have to lean heavily on outside counsel for that kind of specific expertise.
Jeff, I'm going to stick with you. Both of us grew up in a construction family, so we know that contractors don't really like lawyers. Could you build upon what Rich had mentioned about what makes a good construction lawyer, particularly how can you be a good lawyer for your clients?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I loved what Richard had to say about it. And the first thing he mentioned was learning the technologies that are important to construction, how things are built. Eventually, you'll have a case about how things fall down, how things are designed, and how they come together. One day you'll have to learn about how a hospital is built, and then the next time you'll have to learn about how a power plant operates. And if that stuff doesn't interest you, you probably shouldn't be looking at construction law, because I found that once I was introduced to it and I had, people on the project explain to me how things work, and then other lawyers help me out, and then consultants that you hire to help build these projects, explain things like scheduling to you. I couldn't get enough of it. And you build up this, and I started at ground zero. I came out of a construction business, but the only tool my dad let me use was a broom, because he didn't want me to go into the construction business. So I was pretty miserable all the time. So I didn't come in with any particular knowledge about engineering or construction technology, but you pick it up as a construction lawyer with each case. And part of what you build as a lawyer, right, your skills and your knowledge as a lawyer, it's kind of on one side of your brain, but at the same time, you're learning something about construction with every case, even every contract that you review, you're going to learn something new. And that's really a fun part of being a construction lawyer.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Jeff. Learn something every day, and it's a lot of fun. Leslie, what about construction industry trends? With law students, trying to decide where they want to enter the market, what industries they want to commit their time and effort towards. What's the business case to enter the construction industry as an attorney? And what's the forecast going forward for the construction industry growing and having work for construction attorneys in the future?
Well, of course, the construction industry is one of the largest industries in the entire country, if not in the world, because people are building things all the time. And it's obvious that we need to keep building things because we've had bridges collapse and buildings collapse. So there's obviously a need for some infrastructure repairs and replacement. There's a housing shortage. So somebody needs to build more houses and build more apartments for those people to live in. Healthcare, Brassel and Gorey is also a healthcare builder, and the healthcare industry has exploded. We have an aging population. We have a lot of people needing medical care and better medical facilities. To me, the need for construction and then for construction attorneys is only going to continue at a fairly steady pace, I think, barring any unforeseen cataclysmic event. I think that I was going to build on something that Richard said about the technology, which is kind of a pet thing of mine, that if you're interested in technology, construction industry has been sort of slow compared to others to embrace it, but they are embracing it now in a big way. And it's amazing the number of things that are being considered, being used, everything from virtual reality to enhanced reality to robots. It's amazing the things that are being used and are just on the horizon. So if you have an interest in that sort of thing, construction is definitely a place that you might be interested in. And so I think there's a big future for construction as an industry and construction lawyers, going forward.
Carmela, could you speak about being a woman in construction?
Yeah, I very often find myself to be the only woman in the room. It depends. Some of that depends a lot on where specifically I am. I practice in North and South Carolina. And so I find that when I am in, something for a South Carolina case, I am 99% of the time the only woman in the room. But a North Carolina case, generally, there are a few others. The North Carolina Construction Bar has a very active group of female attorneys who are also very active in leadership of the North Carolina Construction Bar. I sometimes really like being the only woman in the room. I think it can give you a distinct advantage at times for all the ladies on the call. But, it's a changing world. Yeah.
I would chime in on that. So when I started practicing, I was definitely the only woman in the room, sometimes the only woman in the building. But the construction industry particularly is embracing women, partly because of the need. We have a labor shortage, and there's a need to have, more people. And so they've discovered that women are people, and women can learn to be estimators and project managers. And we have a very large group and growing group within our company, particularly. And as far as construction law goes, so at the beginning of my career in the forum, there were about 6 of us. We used to say we could all meet in the bathroom And one thing was that there was never a line to get into the ladies' room at the forum events, unlike many other places. But now, when I went to the Seattle meeting, I think at least half of the audience was women, many of whom were young women by my standards. And I thought that was great. In fact, when I looked at the list of the division chairs and others in leadership at the forum, there's a astonishing to me number of women in those ranks. So I think it's women are making their mark.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I also, just as a plug for getting involved in the forum does have a great diversity opportunity. You can get diversity scholarships and a diversity fellowship that helps cover some of the costs of the forum. So the forum definitely takes diversity very seriously.
Yeah, that's, Carmela, exactly what I was going to say is, and I put some links in the chat at the beginning of this program with links on to the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, as well as some of the other resources, including the Law Students ABA Communities page, where you can participate and engage with other members, and the Searchable Knowledge Base, which if you're wanting to submit an article for the writing competition, that would be a great resource for you to find a topic and do some research. Richard, one of the things that is fun about construction, as we talked about, is the diversity of the practice areas, the clients that are a lot of fun sometimes and enjoyable to work with, but also big personalities. What are some highlights in your career that you can share with some of our law student friends about, a fun project you worked on, a fun case, fun client, give us some character of the fun side of the practice.
Right. So again, you need to represent owners, developers, designers, and all the way down the food chain from contractors down to material suppliers. So recently, in Missy Griffin, who is a colleague of mine, I think she's on this, and she's chair of the writing competition, student writing competition, by the way. So she's asked me to plug the student writing competition again. So she works with me and a colleague here on a case that I find fascinating because it's design and construction of a light rail project coming from middle of downtown Los Angeles down to LAX. And we happen to represent the designer. And so we are, for the most part, we were with a bunch of engineers. And these men and women are PhDs in structural engineering and civil engineering. And it's unfathomable to me, how do they design projects like this, from bridges to underground stations, and then at grade stations, and then go to how do they do that? And you're talking to them. And again, these are PhDs or masters in engineering, and they will tell you how to do it. And I think maybe it was Jeff that was indicating that. And they love it. They love building the communities that we live in. And I don't understand it. I mean, I'm a construction lawyer, but you have to at least, you have to have a general understanding of what they're talking about. You have experts which will help you, but how do they do it? And they're proud and they're passionate about it. Conversely, you can talk to the builders of the project who are not so formally educated, but who have the passion and the intelligence and the passion and the confidence that what they're doing is the right thing to do. So I mean, I love that aspect of it. Yes, there's a dispute, and to Leslie's point, we try to get it resolved sooner rather than later, and eventually it will hopefully get resolved. But those are the kinds of projects, and we do a site inspection, and I think Carmela talked about site inspections earlier. You have a hat, you go down into the tunnels, into the substations, into the tunnels, and it's a marvel at how it's done. And again, you have tower cranes there. You're not building towers, but they still use tower cranes. And again, I love that aspect of it. It's very unique for someone like me to do it. And again, you walk the project. They're explaining what they're doing. They're explaining the issues, and you have that aha moment. You go, okay, now I understand something more than looking at a plan or a specification or something else. So I love that. It's a rail line. And again, for those folks who visit LAX, you'll see another project that's right smack dab in the middle of the horseshoe at LAX. It's called the People Mover. And again, it's another engineering marvel that is being built. No dispute yet, but again, an engineering marvel that our client is on. And again, those are the aspects of construction industry and growth, and that you're proud of.
Thanks, Richard. And just going back to an earlier question, we had another question come up on it. What do you look for in the interview process with law school applicants specifically?
Just briefly, as Tom said, I probably interviewed 1,000 young kids. So things very important. Number one, I look for someone who wants to be in law school. And so I have 2 or 3 or 4 indicia. And number one, are you on law review, or to Carmela's point, are you on moot court? Are you doing appellate advocacy? Are you doing something other than going to school, which is already time consuming and expensive? So are you taking advantage of law school? Are you clerking for a judge? Are you working for a professor and writing, updating the professor's treatise or something like that? So are you doing any of those things? Number 2, grades are important. Grades are important. You don't have to be in the top 5 or top 10. Some law firms require it. I mean, I typically don't. I'm not looking always for those types of folks. But do you want to be a lawyer? And then number 2, if you want to be a construction lawyer, obviously living in LA and interviewing with local firms here and up north, when you interview local firms here and you see the student that they were sports law, and then they worked at a talent agency and other things, probably not the student that would be interested in a construction law firm. So again, those are the types of things that I advise law students to do. If you have the opportunity, law students, if you can clerk for a judge, I think that's the most wonderful thing you can do for yourself, whether it's construction law or anywhere else. So those are the kinds of things that I look for, Tom.
First, Jeff, then Leslie, could you give us build on maybe that, give us some advice, what law students could use going into the interview process, things that they can work on while they're still in law school, and just your general final thoughts as we head towards the close of this panel. Jeff?
I don't want to repeat what Richard said, but it makes perfect sense. I wouldn't put grades at the top of the list, but really that passion to want to be a lawyer. Hope if you have a way to communicate that during your interview, make sure that comes out. Show some interest in different areas of the law. I was I used to interview law students as well, and I was always impressed when we got to talking about other areas of law other than construction. And just as just some concluding thoughts, because I know we're winding down. I love being a lawyer, and I love the construction business. So, if that sounds like, something you'd be interested in, you should definitely take a look at construction law, talk to more people who are in the business, join the forum. You'll meet lots of like-minded people. It's a tremendous business. The people are fantastic. The projects are really cool. Not everybody's called to it, but you can see just from the people on this call that the people who are involved have a lot of passion for it.
So I would echo what Jeff and Richard said, but to me also, and I used to interview law students when I was in private practice as well. If they showed, some gumption, I guess it would be, if you didn't have the best grades, but you worked your way through law school, or you had a background in working in construction, for example, I think that would be impressive to me. Also, people who have common sense, they seem to have their head on straight. There are people who are brilliant, academics, but they can't talk to other people. And part of what you really have to do as a construction lawyer is you have to talk to a lot of other people, and people that are of diverse backgrounds, educationally, socioeconomically, every which way. And you have to be able to relate to those people. And if you're going to be a trial lawyer, you have to be able to relate to a jury who is going to be a diverse group, or arbitrators. And so being able to make those connections with people and to understand people and have respect for people. And as Richard said, the people that work on our jobs, everybody from, the laborers on up to the CEO, they have a passion for it. They absolutely are tremendously proud of what they build, and they build America. That's the thing that's so cool about construction, is they build America. They build everything from theme parks to, infrastructure to, the Kennedy Space Center. And I had some fun experiences. I represented a theme park owner here and got to visit behind the scenes of some of those things. And so that's really a fun part of the job, is the site visits. But the people are, this is the salt of the earth, and people with dirt under their fingernails, but they're very proud, and they do the best they can. And you have to really appreciate and respect them for that.
Okay, well, thank you, Richard, Carmela, Jeff, Lexi, and Leslie. That was a great overview of what it's like to practice in construction law. What we're going to do now is we're going to merge into a discussion from as many of the divisions as we have on this call. And the forum is organized by having 14 different divisions. One is the Young Lawyers Division, and the other 13 are topical. I just pasted in the link to what the various divisions are of the forum, so you can review that and see if anyone catches your eye. I'm going to remove the spotlights to allow each of our division representatives to chat with you all. So if you want to put it on gallery view so you all can see everyone, that would be fantastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each person from the division 2 minutes to describe their division, describe how law students could get involved, what they do. And I will be rude and interrupt them if they exceed that 2 minutes, just so we can hear from everyone. This is a way to really hear from the source how you could get involved, add to your resume, and really network before you even leave law school, as Lexi's done in her practice. So let's start out with the Young Lawyers representative, Carmela.
Hey, Young Lawyers Division is exactly what it sounds like. I will put another plug in that Tom didn't say, but the forum allows you to be part of multiple divisions. So keep that in mind when you're perusing the division section. But the Young Lawyers, we get together every meeting and we try to do something fun. So in Seattle, we went to play whirly ball late night that involved driving around in bumper cars and kind of playing basketball at the same time. A little weird, but it was a lot of fun. And my favorite thing about the Young Lawyers Division is you are starting to form relationships with people who are in your same kind of career level. So like my best friend in the forum is an attorney from Richmond, and I met her in the Young Lawyers Division, and she's my same age. And, we are now both at the point where we can start referring cases to one another. And so, when you get in construction, you're going to have clients who do work, across several different states. So it's really nice to have those colleagues that you can say, yeah, you have a problem in Richmond. My girl Kelly's up there and I can send her to you. So did I beat my 2 minutes?
Yes, you're perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, Carmela. And so I'm next. I'm the chair of Division 1. We specialize in litigation and dispute resolution. We have a blog that we maintain. It's called the Dispute Resolver. Thank you, Leslie, earlier for plugging it. Lexi is an editor on that blog. We also have opportunities to help plan events, to help work with us on our monthly calls. We also have in-person meetings, social events in San Diego. We're going to be doing a social event after the welcome reception. So we have a lot of space for people who want to get involved. And one thing I'd also say is my past forum experience as an editor of Under Construction or the forum's newsletter. That's an excellent way to also get some publication opportunities through the dispute resolver and/or Under Construction. So we would be happy to hear from you. And Lexi is the best person to talk with about her experience as a law student working with Division I. So let's go with Division II. Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Nicole Antini from Gordon Reese. I'm on the steering committee of Division II. Division II is contracts. If you're transactional, you deal with contracts. If you're in litigation, you deal with contracts. Contracts are your baby and you love them and you want to be a part of our division. So what do we have? We have monthly calls and we allow individuals in our calls to do short presentations. So it could be one of your first experiences presenting with a small, very lovely, supportive group. The other thing is we plan and organize outings at in-person meetings. Now, Division II, it's stealthy, it's small. So we're able to do things like, we went to a Clippers basketball game that our sponsors paid for free because we're a smaller group. If you do some of the big groups, like maybe you'll get to go to a bar, but you're not going to get the things that we do. We do like haunted jails. We're going to do escape rooms. At the division meetings, we also do lunch presentations. You can be involved. We have a newsletter that's issued twice. We need liaisons for forum standing committees. Like I'm on the publications committee. If you guys want to publish and you're like, no Division II, no Tom Dunn of Division I, well, come to the publications committee. We're here for you. And then this will eventually lead to a steering committee position if you're so interested. Once again, we're smaller. So while you might have to wait years for Tom to look at you to be in Division I steering committee, we could get you there much quicker. So that's my sale of Division II. I spent 5 minutes today coming up with a rhyme because Division IX has this rhyme. Everything's fine in Division IX. So my new one, which is terrible, is Division II starts with you. Come be a member. Come be friends. And I don't know, contract people are very good to have in your Rolodex. Plus, I feel like we're probably better than all the other divisions. All right.
You can see the competitiveness amongst our divisions. Thank you, Nicole. That's awesome. Rachel John, please.
Hi, good evening. I don't know if I can follow that particularly well, but so Division III is the design division. We deal with all the issues specific to the design process and with the parties who are involved in design. And there's probably a little bit of overlap with a lot of these things, but that could be, for example, defective design claims or construction defect claims, and you're dealing with expert witnesses. And it goes both for transactional with your contracts and for litigation. There are so many opportunities to get involved, and you're going to hear some of this is repetitive, right? We do monthly meetings. We always have a hot topic. We would love to have volunteers who are interested in getting involved in helping to organize those hot topics, which is a great way to meet not only attorneys in the division and who are presenting, but also engineers and architects and construction professionals who are expert witnesses or running companies and who have dealt with sort of developing issues in the field. There's always publications. The Construction Forum is a very active group. We publish a lot. So we're always looking for editors or for if you want to get involved in some of the meetings, which are in amazing locations. San Diego, we've got Big Nevada also coming up this year. We have New York City coming up this year. You can help presenters with their papers and generally prod them into completing those papers for their presentations. It's a great way just to get to know people and to learn about different topics. So there's just a ton of different ways to get involved. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Great, thank you, Rachel. I tried to put everyone's email in the chat, but if you want to add yours separately, that'd be great. Joel, Division IV.
Hi, everyone. It's a real pleasure to attend and speak with you today. My name's Joel Hurd, and I'm a partner at the law firm Osler, Hoskin and Harcourt, which is a large national law firm in Canada. And I'm based in Osler's Toronto office. For the last 25 years, my practice has been focused exclusively on construction and infrastructure, not only at a large law firm environment, but also in-house at an engineering and construction company and at my own small law firm. So, and I want to mention that participating in the forum over the years has been a huge benefit to my practice. I'm currently chair of Division 4, which focuses on project delivery systems and construction technology. Now, you might ask, what's a project delivery system and how does it relate to construction technology, let alone the practice of construction law? Well, in short, a project delivery system is essentially a structure for organizing all the various participants on a construction project. And that includes, like Richard said, the owner, designers, constructors, subcontractors, material and equipment suppliers, consultants, lenders, insurers, sureties, and on and on. And there's a myriad of contract and commercial or pricing structures to consider and choose from. And the choice needs to be made at the front end of the project before the contracts and the other documents can be prepared.
He's exceeded his time limit. Just joking. That looks like Joel froze on us. But Joel's great, and Division 4 is fantastic. We're going to move on to Division 6. Erin, could you give us an overview?
Hi, all. My name is Erin Ebler-Rolfe, and I'm a partner at Woods Aiken, primarily in our Lincoln, Nebraska office. However, we also have offices in Omaha and Denver. And I have been involved with Division 6, which focuses on labor and employment issues, since my very first year out as being an attorney. So since approximately 2009 or so. And I would say as a younger attorney, Division 6 offers a tremendous amount of opportunity because we are, as being focused on labor and employment issues, probably a little we are much smaller than the other divisions in the forum. So there are plenty of opportunities to get involved in terms of writing opportunities, like, for instance, helping with plenary white papers or working on some of the publications like Workplace Chatter that we have in the forums, publications, things of that nature. Overall involvement in terms of being actively involved in phone calls, giving presentations on hot topics, things of that nature. All of that is there. But for me, one of the things that was best about being in Division 6 as a really young attorney, and would be there as a student as well, is the access to amazing labor and employment practitioners who genuinely want to help you. I still remember during my first year of practice reaching out to a couple members of Division 6, and I'm just getting started in the labor and employment section of my firm, asking for advice on a problem that I was faced with. I got advice from people who had been out 20, 30 years and really specialized in their area. I looked brilliant to my firm, and so from that standpoint, you get the advantage to you have the ability to take advantage of all of this wealth of knowledge of people that want to help you and want to help you succeed. And you get to do it in the context of the construction industry and the construction forum, as opposed to maybe a much larger section like the ABA section on employment. So if anyone's interested, I am not the current chair of Division 6. She is actually currently with her child at Disneyland. So I am here instead. I am a former chair, and I am happy to help get you involved or in touch with Jesse Hill, who is our current chair, or otherwise get you hooked into Division 6 if you're interested. Thank you.
Fantastic, Erin. Thank you so much. You heard about the specialization of insurance earlier in the program, and we have an insurance division. Mike Clark, you want to talk about your group?
Sure. Good evening or afternoon, or for Anna, late morning. My name is Michael Clark. I am here in Southeast Florida. I'm currently sitting a little north of Miami. I am the chair of Division 7, which concerns itself with insurance, sureties, and liens. Before I talk about that real quick, plug for the forum as a whole. If you're going to be a construction lawyer, if you want to do it, if you're interested in it, there is no better repository of knowledge and people than this one across the country. The relationships and the friendships that you will make through this organization are just outstanding. Tom, who is to my left in my Hollywood Square screen, I count as a good friend of mine. We've been close for 10 years. Moving on, if I've heard one thing from the preceding divisions, other than that Nicole needs to cut back on the caffeine, it's that Carmela is 100% right. You can join multiple divisions. I came out of law school as a non-traditional law student. I was about 4 or 5 years older than everybody else. I still, when I got involved in the forum, joined the Young Lawyers Division. And that's how I made friends like Tom and the people that have come up through the forum with me over the course of the last decade plus. Insurance, surety, and liens. Now I'm down to probably 45 seconds.
That's right.
Leslie said that we're building America. It's right. She's absolutely right. But it's still a business, right? Construction is a business. Insurance, surety, and liens are great ways that construction practitioners deal with risk and getting paid. There are also niches within the niche, right? Construction law is an absolute niche practice. It really is. In Florida, where I practice, it's a board certified area. There's not very many of us. And certification, it's like passing another bar exam 10 years later, but it's way harder because you're older and your brain's not as quick. But anyway, insurance, surety, and liens, it's a great division to get in if you really want to start focusing on some of the business aspects as far as the risk management and the getting paid. We do all of the stuff that everybody else is talking about. We have fun things. We went with division with the YLD and I think a couple of the other divisions for Whirly Ball. We do fun things at the meetings. I have a newsletter that's been my baby for the last 8 years. So if you don't want to get published at large, if you want to start someplace a little smaller, you want to focus on insurance, surety, and liens, reach out. And we a lot of times already have topics. We just need authors. And with that, I will share my time. Thanks, Tom.
You ran out of your time, Mike, but that's okay. Joel, sorry we missed you. You want to say a final couple of remarks?
Yeah, sorry, I think my internet went down. But the other part, aside from project structuring that's part of project delivery and construction technology, are all of the construction technology developments that we're seeing in the industry that Leslie and Richard were speaking about earlier. Things like wearable technology, 3D printing, BIM, blockchain. Those are the types of things, and we really see our role is to inform and help our members understand the developments and the potential impact on how projects are carried out and the risks and contract terms that are affected by these sorts of things. So, we do Whirly Ball too. We did Whirly Ball too. We do a lot of fun things like the others. But I just want to say everyone's, if you're interested in these types of topics, everyone's welcome to join Division 4 and attend our monthly Zoom calls, as well as our social events. And I'm happy to hear from anybody who wants to get involved or just learn more about what Division 4 is up to.
Thanks, Joel. And moving to another international topic, we have an international construction division. Roberto, you want to describe what that's all about?
Thank you, Tom. Very nice to be with all of you. Good afternoon. I'm Roberto Hernandez, steering member of Division 8, which is the International Construction Projects. We have a very interesting group made of different people from around the world. I'm speaking from Mexico City, and we have members from different places in Latin America and even Europe. We are very keen to look for members around the world. We make referrals from people that we trust among each other. And I can tell you that one of the very interesting things that we have learned are international contracts, international dispute resolution, things in common between jurisdictions or not. And this is very interesting because when you get into construction projects that involve different nationalities and different entities, you will have to approach it correctly. So my email is there. It's a very nice group. People is very friendly, and everybody has shown a very nice way of commitment. So we look forward to seeing you there and receiving you in our group. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Next, we're moving on to Emily Anderson. And Emily, is my memory wrong that you were a law student representative of the ABA Forum too, or am I completely off?
Yes, no, you're right. You're right. I joined the forum as a 2L in 2010. So I actually saw Jeff Cruz here. I think he was one of the first 3 people I met at one of the conferences when I came in. But it's really, I was so psyched when you guys invited the divisions to come talk at this, and also knowing Lexi was involved, because it's just been, it's like, it's true to me here. Like I have a lot of nostalgia about it, and I'm glad to see that it's grown so much with getting law students involved. But I actually, so since I was involved as a law student, I'm in a similar position to a lot of you guys. And when I graduated, I didn't know what my practice area would be at. I knew I wanted to do construction law. I got a job doing construction law, but I didn't know if I really wanted to be in the subcontractors group or the contracts group or the, so what I had to go on was my interests. And so right now we're the Transportation, Energy, and Environment Division. At that time, it was actually called it was Legislation and the Environment. So, and that definitely didn't hit where my practice group was when I graduated. But I was really interested in energy, really interested in the environment. I was asked to join the division, and I did. And what's really wonderful about joining a smaller division and joining one that you're really interested in, even if you don't know where your practice is going yet, is that you can have a leadership position right off the bat. I was immediately part of the steering committee of Division 10. I was able to publish in one of our publications, which is called the 2x4x10. And it really focuses on sustainable construction issues, energy issues, transportation issues. And while the first couple of years of my practice, it didn't really intersect that much, I was able to stay up to date with it. And now I represent a lot of heavy civil contractors, I've been involved with a lot of public-private partnerships with airports and bus terminals and all sorts of transportation. And I've also started, I've had a couple arbitrations having to do with solar energy. And I don't know if I would have gone in that direction so much if it wasn't for being able to stay on top of the topics through the ABA, and I wouldn't have ended up where I am. So I really do strongly recommend it. Just getting involved in the forum, I love Division 10. If anybody wants to reach out to me about it afterwards, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it more. In upcoming events, we have a meeting on February 10th, which we could send you a link to if you're interested in joining. And then at the San Diego meeting, there's going to be a lunch speaker. The details of that are still being worked out, but the presentation topic is still a little bit in the air. But we're actually collaborating with another division, the International Construction. I can't remember what Division 8. So we're collaborating, and then we've got a dinner. So if any of you are going to San Diego, there's a dinner at the Pushkin restaurant on Thursday the 24th. There's advanced sign up for it. So if people are going and you want to come, then just let us know and you can sign up ahead of time.
You're out of time, Emily. But I'm glad my memory was good to remember. I remember meeting you at a membership committee meeting that many years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's fun to do a full circle here during this event. Jessica Courtway, can we have Division 9 subcontractors and suppliers?
Sure. I'm Jessica Courtway. I am an attorney with the law firm Greensfelder, Hemker & Gale in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't think I can say anything that's new or original after going, 9th or 10th. So I'll just say that there's 2 reasons you should join Division 9. The first is that we have a slogan, as Nicole referenced. It's "Things are fine in Division 9." And we also have hats. So if you're a fan of slogans and you're a fan of hats, you should join Division 9, which focuses on subcontractors. But in all seriousness, it's a great group of people. You don't have to, your practice does not have to focus on subcontracts or subcontractors in order to be a member of Division 9. Someone may have already said that already, but you can also be a division, or you can also be a member of numerous divisions. I would say only a portion of my practice really, deals with subcontractors. I also deal with general contractors and sureties and liens and other of the various topics that the other speakers have dealt with. But I'm conscious of time, and that's all I have to say. I hope to see you guys all in San Diego and in the future.
Thank you, Jessica. And Division 1 has desk crumbies. You can look it up, but branded desk crumbies that we can give you.
No double dipping, Tom.
So there's a super secret division that nobody gets to know about unless they're part of a secret club. And Paul Allen will tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, I'm Paul Allen from Fisher Homes, and I think Leslie mentioned that we're building America. We have the fortune of building American dreams in the residential home building business, but I am from Division 11, which is the in-house division. And one of the things people have talked about is the learning that goes on both in the sessions at all the meetings, but also that occurs at some of the social activities and the dinners that occur. When you're in Division 11, which is the in-house group, you usually do not have difficulty finding a dance partner with other divisions to make sure that you don't have to do all the work to get everything set up, because there are definitely law firms and lawyers who are looking to make connections with in-house counsel, because in-house counsel tend to be the people that make the decisions on who they hire when they get a dispute in a certain location. So it's kind of like being the belle of the ball if you're in Division 11, but we are definitely trying to get out there with law students. The traditional path has not been going directly from law school into in-house, because there's an opportunity to learn at law firms, but that's changing a little bit. But even so, it's a great division to be a part of, and it's certainly something that we try to interact with all of the other divisions, because all of the other divisions are potential law firms that we want to work with in the future at some point.
Thank you so much, Paul. Kristen Sherwin, you want to talk about Division 1 owners, and is it still owners and lenders?
It's just owners and project finance is Division 12. Okay. But I would say that I'm not sure we have any of our members that are actually involved in project finance. I think everyone is an owners or developer lawyer, or at some point does that. We may have some people who touch on project finance from this perspective of dealing with JV agreements, but for construction for their owner developer clients. But for the most part, we are owners lawyers. Yes, we are the ones with the money who are hiring the people to build the project. So we are a fun division. At least I hope we're a fun division. We need some lifeblood from some young lawyers coming in to help us plan some more fun events like Whirly Ball. We did not participate in Whirly Ball. So if you're a young lawyer, you can definitely get involved in Division 12. When I was just joining the forum, one of the first things I did for Division 12 was plan some dinners and plan some activities. So that's a great way for a young person to get involved, to come in and help us plan those dinners and plan those fun things to do. I'm going to take the rest of my time, since everyone else has done such a great job explaining how you can get involved in the forum, in the divisions, and talk about our diversity fellowship. I heard Carmela mention it, and some others during the talk. I'm the chair of the Diversity Fellows subcommittee. And so I just wanted to give a plug to that. It is a great opportunity for young lawyers who are diverse, and diverse in the forum includes women, to apply and get involved early. It leads to great leadership opportunities, because you get put on a steering committee if you get to be a fellow. And we do have some fellows on this call: Jessica Courtway, Carmela, I was a fellow. And so I think Aaron was a fellow. It's a great way to obviously get yourself involved in the forum early. So anyway, just wanted to plug the Diversity Fellowship. The applications are closed for this year. They close on Monday, but in the future, if you're interested in the forum, look out for the Diversity Fellowship announcements.
Great, thanks, Kristen. Last but not least, we have our Government Public Construction Division, Anna Oshiro.
Hi, everybody. Aloha. I am from Hawaii at the law firm of Damon Key, Leong, Kupchak, Hastert in Honolulu. And I'm with the government. I'm the chair of the steering committee for the government construction group. And what is that? I have 3 words for you. Just remember these 3 words, $3 trillion. I mean, that, if you think about it in terms of what is going on, how is our government money being spent? This for the first time in decades, we have a huge infrastructure bill that has been passed and that is about to be put in play. And so for government construction lawyers, this is an incredibly exciting time. There are going to be issues that we're going to have to deal with respect to procurement, with fights, contracts, scarcity of resources, how to allocate dollars, even fairness and diversity in terms of how the money gets spent. And all of that requires the special expertise of folks who practice in this area. And this group is one of the newest groups in the forum. It was created I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. And it took off like crazy because there's almost every practice involves some form of government construction law, from, filling potholes to building stadiums, to paving roads, to, creating, building bridges and doing those amazing, walker platforms that Richard's talking about, those people movers. Everything about that involves a very specialized area of law with its own rules that are applicable to different states, and then its own set of rules with respect to federal government. And I can't think of a better group that can help you as a lawyer if you end up working either for government or in private practice than being a part of Division 13, because the resources are incredible. We started having people talking about the infrastructure package when it was just a twinkle in Joe Biden's eye, and all the way up until it was actually passed. And then talking about, well, what does this mean for supply chain issues that are going to be faced by different companies? That's disrupting construction around the world. And, all of that, gets addressed by the people that I have the very, very great pleasure and honor of getting to work with and meet with on a monthly basis. So if you're interested, we do have monthly calls. Anybody can join, anybody can raise their hand. You're welcome to raise your hand for the social or the meeting or the planning or any of the things that have been discussed so far. $3 trillion. It's going to be an exciting time for this group.
Great. Excellent job. We did it perfectly. It is 6:30. We did that right on time. I want to thank all of our division representatives for appearing today. That is the way to get involved in the forum. If you're not a member of the ABA or the ABA Forum on Construction Law, please join. Sign up for all of the divisions you want. You'll get their newsletters and notifications through ABA communities. That's the way we communicate with all of our members. Again, there is a law student ABA community webpage that Lexi is running. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Lexi. Thank you on behalf of Division 1, on behalf of the membership committee, and on behalf of the ABA Forum on Construction Law. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.